Oh yeah. Getting back to normal is really getting back to normal. I would say you come out of DP a lot smarter and a lot wiser and a lot stronger. And I was just like, I was like, wow, DP is kind of like a blessing right now. Like in my entire life, that was the greatest year for ministry. That was the greatest track season I've ever had. I ended up winning the 60 indoor, the 200 indoor. I was a 5-time conference athlete of the week. I won the 100, the 4x1, and the outdoor 200, and I qualified for nationals that year. All because of I changed my perspective that DP is not happening to me, but it's happening for me.
Hey everyone, I'm Sean O'Connor, author of the Depersonalization Manual, and today I'm speaking with Troy McKnight. Troy is 23 years old and has gone through 2 separate bouts of depersonalization disorder. In 2019, he first developed DPDR triggered by weed, which lasted about 6 months. But in 2023, the symptoms returned. For another 6 months, he experienced chronic feelings of unreality and persistent obsessive thoughts. But fortunately, Troy has since made a complete recovery. As he wrote to me in a recent email, quote, "I'm a D1 athlete, I'm a man of faith. I fully recovered from DPDR and I'd love to share my story," end quote. And Troy is with us today to talk about his experience with and recovery from depersonalization disorder. Troy, you're very welcome to the channel. Thanks for being with us today.
Oh man, it's a blessing to be able to be on the channel. I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, great to have you on. Troy, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so like, Sean said, my name is Troy McKnight. I'm originally from Dallas, Texas. I just actually finished my bachelor's of applied communication at the University of Arkansas Little Rock. I also ran track and field. Just kind of ended that season right now. And now I'm headed to Houston to be a summer intern at a church. And I'll be getting my master's in biblical exposition this upcoming fall. So I'm super excited for that.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Troy, can you tell us a little bit about your experience with DPDR and how did it start for you?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. So in 2019, I had always been a guy just naturally prone to just being more anxious than a lot of my friends and peers. Even my father, like my dad, if my mom went to like a work trip for a couple of days and she had to fly on a plane, he's just like, what if the plane falls? What if, like, just a very anxious family. But I had never really experienced anxiety or anything like that for my entire life. But in 2019, me and my friends were just like, bro, we finna go to college. We've never smoked. We've never done anything. Let's try it out for one time. And, I just smoked. And, the next day when I woke up, I just had this really weird sense of like, are these my hands? Like, these are not my hands, or like, just like I would talk to my parents and I just didn't feel like a real connection or anything like that. And it kind of just freaked me out for a little bit. But then I was just Googling online how I felt. And then this thing about DR came up and I was like, wow, that's exactly how I feel. And yeah, that's how it kind of just all started for me.
And was the weed itself, did you enjoy it? Were your friends okay, or did it kind of happen at the time, or was it later on that you started experiencing the symptoms?
So it was kind of weird. I enjoyed it at first. I was like looking at my phone, we were playing some music. I'm just like, and I'll never forget this thought. I was like, I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life every single day. This is awesome. And right when that happened, it's like everything just went for a turn, and I just started overthinking and just being very like anxious. Like, why is the blue in my text message just so blue? Like, it was just very like a weird experience. And when I went back home, I just kept overthinking and thinking it and thinking it, and I just didn't enjoy it. And I woke up the next morning, and I actually kind of did what I was supposed to do. I didn't feel quite right. I Googled some symptoms, but I went to like the water park. I hung out with my friends. I just did everything as if life was normal. And it actually went away for like 2 days. And then I never forget, I was at work and I ate like this Subway sandwich and I was just eating it. And I was just like, wow, like these are so many complex and weird like flavors. Like, how am I processing all these flavors right now? Like, this is kind of crazy. And I was like, wow, the brain is so powerful. And it just took me into another spiral, and I just went on from there. So that's kind of how it all kind of happened for me. But at first I kind of enjoyed it, and then it just went poof, all downhill.
So after that, then Troy, can you tell us about some of the symptoms you were experiencing?
Yeah. So, in 2019, the experiences that I experienced the most was just like, I would look at like I had a mole on my hand right here. I got it removed, but I would look at that mole and be like, how long has that mole been there? And I was like, no, this is cancer. It just has to be cancer. And then I would get so anxious and worked up about it, and I'll start Googling what cancer pictures look like, and that would just be like my obsession. So I had very obsessive thoughts. In my entire life, I've always been a man of like faith. I've always been a Christian, and it'll make me start doubting things about my religion obsessively and just like overly like thinking about it 24/7. And then when that would happen, well, sorry, when that would happen, I would start thinking more about just like I would start feeling like not like myself. Like I would just start feeling like very unreal, stuff like that. So those are kind of, and then existentialism, like, wow, I'm alive. I can think, like just stuff like that would kind of freak me out.
Yeah, yeah. So did you go and speak to a doctor or a therapist at any point?
Oh yeah, so this was a crazy thing of like the whole turning point in the whole story. So I went to go speak to a doctor, and he was just like, "Yeah, this just sounds like some general anxiety." And another great fear that I had, I was like, "What if I'm going crazy? Like, what if I'm just losing my mind?" So I went to go speak to a doctor about that. He's like, "No, this just seems like some general anxiety." And when he told me that, I'm just like, he didn't tell me what I wanted to hear. Like, I don't think that this is actually what it is. Um, so after that, I never forget this point. I had went to my mom and I was like, Mom, because at this point, I've always been a bigger guy. I was a football player in high school. So I was like 180, 85 pounds. And at this point, I was down there to like 150, 160 pounds. And I was like, Mom, I don't think I can do this anymore. Whatever I'm dealing with is too much of a burden on my back, and I don't want to live anymore. And I never forget because I always looked at my mom as like this strong figure. Like, I go to my mom, she can figure anything out. And my mom just looked at me and she like didn't understand how to process what I said, and she kind of just walked away. And I never forget at that moment, it's like something switched in me. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to give up on myself. And I'm going to, if this is what life has to be like now, I'm going to make the absolute best life that I can from it. And from that, I started to just dive into my faith even more. I seen that the Bible said that we should cast all our anxieties onto Christ. And at that moment, I was like, oh, this is anxiety. This is what anxiety is doing to me. I'm going to cast it all on Christ like the word tells me to do. And from that moment on, for the next 6 months, I would have these thoughts or unreal feelings or just any of the symptoms. And I would just be like, it's just anxiety. And even sometimes when I'll break down and like I'll have a panic attack, I'll be like, oh, this is anxiety, but I can still do everything that I want to do at this point in my life.
So you were an athlete. You obviously are still an athlete, but you were playing football at that time?
Yes, sir. Football and track.
Football and track. Okay. And what are you specializing in now?
Just track.
Just track. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
That's great. So the first episode lasted about 6 months, and then so you came out of it then about after around the 6 month mark, Troy, is that right?
Yes, sir. So I came out of it. It was kind of just like lingering effects. I always say that sometimes I would still have like DP kind of thoughts or DP kind of feelings, but once I truly understood that it was just anxiety, it just honestly didn't bother me. Like once I realized that like I can still talk to my girlfriend, or I can still run track, or I can still enjoy a TV show and just ignore the like whatever was happening. That took about 6 months, but to fully just never notice a symptom was, I don't even know when it happened. I just continued to live life and I just kind of forgot about it, honestly.
Yeah, yeah. It's a common kind of experience with getting rid of DP is that you forget to be afraid of it, and it just kind of fades away and stops in the background. So life gets back to normal after that 6 months. Where are you in terms of your life at that point? Are you studying? Are you in college, or just running track? What are you doing?
Yes, sir. So at that point, I was in high school when it first started. And then right when I got to college, I would say like the first semester is when things really started to get a lot better for me. And just also being in like a I'm a guy who needs discipline and structure. So just being in a structure like, hey, I got class at 8 a.m. I got practice at 2 o'clock, and then I got to eat in between that. And I got three crazy roommates that are always in my room. Really just didn't give me much time to just think about what like was happening. So that's when things really shifted and improved.
Okay, okay. So you're feeling like you're back to normal. Things are good. And then it's in 2023, so it's
Yes, sir.
a couple of years later. So what was it that that led up to that second bout of it?
Yes, sir. So, just a lot of external stress that I didn't identify. My parents was going through a separation, and I always had like the family that was like, "Hey, like that's the family's family." Like, I mean, I wish I was a part of that family. So, my parents going through that separation, I kind of just told myself like it didn't bother me, but I think it caused a lot of like I was just holding on to a lot of that stress. And I had went home, and I have like amazing like uncles and aunts that allowed us to live with them, um, but for that time period of 2 years, I had always lived in Arkansas. So just moving back to Dallas, where, I originally experienced DP, and then being in a new house and not having the structure of being in Arkansas with friends and all of that stuff, it kind of just gave me a lot of time to just sit and think and just not be like active. And I was just sitting in my room, and I looked at my hand, the same thing that caused it the other time. And I was like, has this mole always been there? And I was just started spiraling, and I was just like, no, it hasn't been there. This might be cancer. And then I was like, wait, Troy, hold on. This is exactly what happened 2 years ago when the whole cycle started again. And and then I started freaking out, and I was like, I'm going to experience DP again. I'm going to be depressed. I'm not going to love my life anymore. Like, why is this happening to me? I just started forgetting everything that I had learned in that cycle. So for the next 3 months, I would be trying to do what I did last time, but I didn't have the structure, nor the friends, nor the like just like life structure. Like, I have to do this, I have to do that to keep me active how I once got away from it. And then that's when I had bought your DP manual for the first time, the full, like, all the files and everything. And I just listened to the whole thing. And it just gave me a lot of comfort and peace. Gave me a lot of comfort and peace. And I just started applying those steps. And I was like, okay, well, last time I did it, I started feeling better within like 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks. Why do I still not feel good? Am I not doing it? Is this time is permanent? So just the entire anxiety, like, given thoughts. But this time, I was really, at this point, I was a lot more into my faith. I had already like dedicated myself and like, made my plan that I'm going to be a pastor. And I never remember Romans 8:28. The Bible says that the Lord works all things for the good of those who love him and are called according to his will and purpose. And I read that verse. I said that this DP is not so much truly of a curse. And I started changing my perspective, and I was like, this DP is kind of actually a blessing. So a lot of the questions that would kind of get into my head, like, there's one verse in Romans where Romans 9, or Lord says that Esau I loved, but Jacob I hated. That was a verse that really had me like split. Like, why would the Lord choose one person and not choose another? And it would give me a great sense of anxiety. But instead of running from those thoughts, it allowed me to dive a lot deeper in my faith and get answers for things that I would have never even thought to answer. So I stopped looking at it as so much like a curse, but I was like, this is a blessing, because it forced me to, like, one of the rules, and you guys will see if you buy the manual, if you're struggling right now, is that do not linger in bed. Get up right out of bed and get your day started, right? And I started to see this thing as something that was like transforming my life. So I would wake up early, I would get into my studies, I would read my Bible, I would be active, I would work out a lot more. And the crazy thing is, because of DP in that same year, I remember that when I'm going through the, like, you guys, if you're experiencing DP, you know how horrible it can be sometimes. At one time, at one of the like highest points of it, my pastor comes over to me and he's like, dude, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, oh, he can tell, because I'm a guy who always wants to like hide stuff. Like, this is my problem. It's like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I've never seen you walk with so much power and authority. I've never seen you be such like you're walking into the man that I know that you really can be. I've never seen a more disciplined. I've never seen a more just like straight on it Troy. And I was just like, I was like, wow, DP is kind of like a blessing right now. Like in my entire life, that was the greatest year for ministry. That was the greatest track season I've ever had. I ended up winning the 60 indoor, the 200 indoor. I was a 5-time all conference athlete of the week. I won the 100, the 4x1, and the outdoor 200, and I qualified for nationals that year. All because of I changed my perspective that DP is not happening to me, but it's happening for me. And I allow the disciplines that have to be fostered to get out of DP to actually make my life better. Now, was it hard? Yeah, there's times where I would just lay in my bed and I'll have so much anxiety. I just like, and have to pray. But in all of it, I saw that verse really come to light, that all things were working for my good. Like this wasn't a bad thing, but this was actually taking me to the next level that I needed to get to be like the man that I know that I can be.
That's so impressive, Troy. Yeah, well done. And you're absolutely right that how you change the way you think about the condition is so fundamental. I mean, for me, in a kind of different sense from yours, but also kind of quite similar. Like I remember at the start, for me, I was so terrified of it and really just scared of it and frustrated with it. And then I got to a point where I got sick of it. I got tired of it, and I just thought to myself, like, I've got more interesting things to do than focus on like another day of existential thoughts. I mean, I'm someone who likes. I love to travel. I love to meet people. I love theater. I love film, and those things are a lot more interesting to me than going over these thoughts of things at DPDR over and over again. And just when that little perspective changed from something that I was terrified of to something that I was just a little kind of exhausted by and kind of I didn't really want it much anymore, that starts to drain the power away from it. Like, you're so right as well about I think this having structure is so important as well in term with recovery. Whether you're in college or training, or if it's a kind of a self-imposed thing, but structure helps to take space away from the thoughts of things of anxiety and DP as well. And I love what you're saying as well, that that little mantra of DP is not happening to me, it's happening for me. It's a furnace that's going to strengthen me, and I will come out of this and I'll be stronger for it. And this is an opportunity for me to really push myself to the next level. It's very, very impressive, Troy. Between the two bouts of it, Troy, did you find that the symptoms were much the same, or did you find that the experience of it was different?
So I would kind of say maybe the experiences from it the first time, I would say they're a little bit more intense in the sense of they're just really new to me. Like I've never really experienced those things. But in the second time, they were different symptoms. So one thing that I would obsess over is I watched a video. 'Cause I always listen to motivation videos, but it was a guy named he's an English fighter, and I can't think of his name. No, he's like a heavyweight fighter. Sorry, guys, I can't remember his name, but he went through depression really, really, really bad.
Is it Tyson Fury?
Tyson Fury, yeah, Tyson Fury, and he's a big believer as well, like me. And I was listening to one of his videos, and I remember just like the process and like what he went through, and I was just like, what if I get like that depressed? And I was like, I never want to be that depressed. Well, what if I get that depressed and then I kill myself? And that thought haunted me. Like when I thought that, I've never felt that much fear in my life. Like, and I was just like, well, why would I have that thought? Was it because I feel this way? And that was like my obsessive thought. And that was far more scarier to me than, an existential thought or anything like that. So the second time the obsessive thought was more scary to me because it was like I value my life so much. And that's one thing that you talked about in, the manual is like sometimes the scariest thoughts are scary and they feel so real to you because those are things that you actually value, that you're not actually that person. And that's why it's so scary, because it's going against who you really are. So the second time, it was a little bit more scary because that's the thoughts, but it was a lot easier when I kind of got my perspective looking the right way, I would say.
What was your lowest point in the whole experience, Troy? Is there a particular time or moment that sticks with you?
Yeah, so me just being a man of faith, the first time I experienced DP, it really pulled me into my faith more. The second time that I experienced DP, gonna just parallel. I don't know, don't want to offend nobody. I know if you guys, everybody watching this are Christians or not, but I think it would be, helpful. Um, One thing that I had always saw was that, sometimes God's blessing doesn't always look the way that we think that it should look. So for an example, if you guys are not familiar with this, but in the book of Exodus, um, there's a man named Joseph, and his brothers had sold him into like slavery. Essentially, they basically just like gave their brother away. And when they gave their brother away, he found like favor with one of the pharaohs, and he became like one of the second most powerful man in all of Egypt. And when he came back to his brothers, he was like, understand that what he did was, it was in God's plan. It was that God's plan to make my life hard so that I could be one of the most powerful like leaders. And the second time that I experienced DP, the second time that I experienced DP, I really understood my faith a lot more, because at my lowest moment, I was driving. I was just doing my routine. My routine was that in the summer, I would wake up, I would brush my teeth, take a shower, I would go on a run, and then I would go with my uncle to eat breakfast, and then I would go to this gaming lounge and play like 1 hour League of Legends, and then go with the rest of my day. And I was going to play League of Legends, and I was just like, I can't fake it no more. I can't fake it. I'm broken. I'm so broken. And I just started breaking down, crying. And this song, is called Firm Foundation by Maverick City. And it said, Christ is my firm foundation. He's the rock on which I stand. When I feel like going under, he will never let me down. And when I heard that, it's like for 30 seconds, the DP and the anxiety just went away. And it's like, I just felt just a love that I could not explain. And I was just like, wow. Like, and at that moment, I had known in my faith that they say God is a rock, that he cares about his people, but I had never experienced it. And at that moment, I had truly experienced God's love, and I had truly experienced that he's a rock, and that now in my life that I don't have DP, no matter what I go through, I will always remember that moment and know I can get through anything. So that was my lowest moment in EP. But even in my lowest moment, it was a beautiful lesson in it. In both times, even the first time when I told my mom, like, I'm done. And then I just told myself, wait, I'm not going to cope with this. We're going to figure out how to be done with it. So.
Yeah, yeah. And I know, and just like expanding on that, Troy, were you speaking to you were speaking to your mom about it. Were you speaking to your teachers, or did your friends, for example, did other people kind of know the extent of what was happening, or did you keep it to yourself?
No, so I try to just keep it to myself, just because one thing about like DP is like, you cannot explain it if you just like, it's hard to explain if you never experienced it. It's like,
Right.
I would tell my friends, I just don't feel like myself. No, oh yeah, I feel like that all the time. But like, it's like, no, but you don't
Yeah,
get
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So I tried a little bit, but I just kind of kept it to like, I told my mom and I told my grandmother, and she didn't understand it, but she would just be there to support me. She didn't really want to understand it. She was just like, I'm just going to support you. So, but the second time I experienced it, I shared it with my uncle, because he actually has had his own battles with anxiety and stuff. So, just sharing it with people who aren't trying to, because there is sometimes a stigma around anxiety. Like one of my friends, Dion, he was like, bro, just stop thinking about it. Just stop thinking about it straight up. So he never experienced it. That's even how I was with one of my friends, Miguel, before all of this happened. And like in middle school, he'd be like, yeah, bro, I don't feel that good. And I was like, bro, just feel better. Like, what's it to feel bad about? So it's kind of hard for some people to understand. So I just kind of told people that I knew had experienced some type of stuff, or just people that I knew generally cared about me.
It's so interesting. I remember before it happened to me, and there would be like, friends who might be kind of going through difficulties or whatever. And I'd have the same response. I'd be just like, well, if you're feeling anxious, just kind of lighten up. Or, if you're feeling a bit depressed, like, well, sure, let's just, go watch a movie or something. And, and going through the experience myself and kind of realizing that, it's not that simple. And also just how random it is, how random it could just kind of hit anybody. It gave me a great sense of humility coming out the other side, and a great sense of empathy with people who go through things like that, which I think to some degree can only be really understood by actually going through it yourself, and going through that kind of that furnace, as I mentioned earlier, yourself. Um, and also I may have asked you this already, but the first bout of it, Troy, but in this second bout of it as well, were you speaking to any doctors or therapists at that time?
Yeah, so this second bout of it, I had actually went to like a school counselor, and I talked to him about it, and then I talked to my uncle. My uncle is like really because he's experienced it, so he used to go to like different they would have like different conventions about anxiety and different things like that. So he was really educated on it. And I had considered getting on like a SSRI or something like that. But I never did it. But I had talked to like a couple people, but it was never any like formal counseling, like maybe just like go on one time but that was all.
How did your recovery start? How did you start coming out of it the second time, and what did that feel like?
So coming out of the second time was a lot of like peaks and lows, like a lot of ups and a lot of downs. But it all started with getting the DP manual. When I got the DP manual, and I just will like listen to all the audios and watch all the videos, because I'm very like, even in like everything that I do, like I'm very like, if something catches my attention, I'm like full focus, obsessed on it for however long. So I listened to maybe the manual, gosh, 100 times. I would go to sleep with the manual sometimes. But I really wanted to like understand this to the innermost and the outermost parts of it. So it would be times where like I would listen to it or listen to, it was a couple. When you guys get the manual, or if you have a manual, you'll see that there are certain like parts of the manual or audio that's just gonna like, it's gonna give you so much peace. It's just gonna be like, Sean made this one exactly for Troy. Like, it's gonna be that part of it. And I will listen to that to start my day, and I will go and I'll just be like, you know what? I would take a shower quick, brush my teeth, go on my run, and I'll be like, gosh, I'm beating DP's butt right now. Like, I feel great. And then out of nowhere, boom, I just went, I'm so sad. What happened? I was just winning earlier today. So also the second bout was a lot of ups and downs. But one thing that like something somebody told me is that something you're basically you've been stressing so much that you're like, the adrenaline that's in your bloodstream, sometimes there's just like left over in it. So you'll be in a natural, like conscious state. And every single time that you have like these really high highs, you feel good, you feel like you're getting out of your EP. So not get too excited, but just be neutral. Be like, I feel good right now. That's fine. And then when you get low, be like, I feel low right now. And that's fine. Because actually what happens is, when somebody was telling me was that basically you got to get all of that adrenaline out of your bloodstream, basically. And when you get super scared or super high, you're just aiding it. So definitely had like a lot of setbacks. Like there would be a week where I'm just like perfectly fine, and there's a week where I'm perfectly not fine. But I kind of just started looking out and just kind of expecting the setback. Like, man, this week been going really good. I bet next week I'll probably have a couple bad days. And when I'm having the bad day, I would be like, having a bad day today, but guess what? In a couple of days, I'm going to be feeling absolutely amazing. So that's kind of how my recovery went. A lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of ups, a lot of downs, until eventually I was just like chilling one day, and I was just like, I think I seen one of your interview videos, and I looked and I was like, that's crazy. I don't have DP anymore. I remember like it was just went away. So
That's great. That's so good to hear. Yeah, absolutely. what to expect during recovery is not like it's a smooth curve where the anxiety just drops down, 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 down. It's a mountain range. It goes up and down, up and down, up and down. And if you don't know to expect that, it could be very frustrating because it feels like, oh, I've had a good day and then a bad day and then 2 good days, then 3 good days and then 2 bad days, and it just feels like you're kind of on this roller coaster. But when you understand that that's a part of recovery and that's what to expect when changing any habit of thought, essentially, it takes the edge off it, and it just kind of allows you to kind of take that in your stride and let the recovery process happen. But something I wanted to ask you as well, Troy. I mean, so when I was going through DPDR, and I know a lot of people do as well, they can tend to get into these kind of spirals of constantly researching the condition and just like looking it up, Googling it all the time. I wonder, was that a part of your experience?
Oh yeah, I would just research it all the time. Like when the first bout of it, it was like an absolute obsession. Especially when I said like I would look at my hand and then I was like see the mole and then my heart would race. So I think I would get a heart attack. So then I bought a blood pressure machine. I'd be checking my blood pressure like every 4 minutes or whatever and seeing if it's high or if it's low, or researching, well, did this person recover? And then I would look at videos and I would be like, 30 years? Oh, I'm cooked. I'm never going to recover. So just like, I would definitely research a lot, but I watched a young man's video. Yeah, I don't know his name, but he was like encouraging. Like, I'm like I love encouragement. He was just like, kick this thing in the mouth right now. Make sure this is the last video that you watch. And the only DP video you're going to watch is when you come back because you beat it. And I was just like, yeah, I'm done. Like, I'm not going to watch no more videos. And when I stop like watching videos, it completely helps me because one thing that I learned is when I would watch the videos, I would look for something that would like encourage me. And then I would find the encouragement. But then somewhere in there will be somebody with a negative comment like, hey, I've had this 30 years. There is no recovery. And then that, boom, all the encouragement will be gone. And now I'm trying to look for somebody to re-encourage me. And then now I'm stuck in this cycle of trying to find encouragement, disencouragement. So I would say stay away from the videos. And that's what I liked about the DP manual. I could listen to the truth. I could get motivation. I could get anything that I needed within that manual and not have the other line of negative or positive comments.
Yeah. So now that you've recovered, Troy, a question that people always ask me is getting back to normal really getting back to normal?
Oh yeah. Getting back to normal is really getting back to normal. I would say you come out of DP a lot smarter and a lot wiser and a lot stronger. Because for a lot of people, and I know for myself, DP was one of the hardest things that I had ever been through. And just like that story I reflected on about being in the car, DP really showed me that like with my relationship with Christ, like I can get through anything, like because I've seen myself do it. So you become a lot stronger. And one thing that I noticed is that DP, anxiety, patterns of thoughts are actually something I think like majority of the population actually has. It's just that they don't hyperfixate on it. Like just a couple of days ago, I've been living in Arkansas for 4 years now, running track at here. Like I've built a community of friends. That my coach is like my best friend. I have a church there. I started the Fellowship Christian Athletes there. So just a great sense of community and structure. And then to realize like, wow, I'm about to let all of this go, and I'm about to move to Houston where I know absolutely nobody but my girlfriend, and and then go to Virginia where I know absolutely nobody. This just sense of fear, and like it kind of almost like the DP like started to like crinkle back, and I'm just like, this is goofy, like like I understand it was just like anxiety creeping up, and it just went away because I didn't give power to it. And even I talked to my girlfriend about it. I was like, yeah, I told her what I experienced and stuff. She was like, oh yeah, that happened to me one time. She was like, yeah, it was just one day. It was just really weird. And then she just laughed it off, so it's just like, I think everybody has probably experienced what we experienced. It's just sometimes when you obsess over it, we make it more of a it's not more of a big deal, but it becomes more of a big deal than what it really is. So
Absolutely. And I mean, 75% of people will experience DPDR at some point in their lives. The great thing about having gone through it as well is that, like, as you mentioned, Troy, is that you recognize that it's a normal feeling to have, and like throughout your life you're going to have moments of stress. You're going to be, you're going to have times where you feel a bit under pressure, whatever, and you're going to feel symptoms of anxiety. Your heart's going to be beating a bit more quickly, your muscles might be tense, and you might feel like low level feelings of DP and DR. But the difference is that if you ever do experience that, which is perfectly normal, you can spot it and go, okay, I know what this is. So don't have to worry about that. I'll get back to doing what I was doing. As opposed to the first time it happened, I certainly focused on it and thought, oh, something is wrong. Why am I feeling like this? Am I going crazy? Did I damage my brain or something? So having gone through it gives you that experience and prevents it from coming back in future. That's what recovery is. And absolutely what your girlfriend was saying about, I experienced. I mean, I was so self-conscious about like telling people about it, but especially when I was going through it. And then when I recovered and I put the book out and it was getting some media coverage and stuff like that, and people would talk to me about it. And the amount of people who said to me, "Oh yeah, that feeling, yeah, I've had that. I've had that before." I didn't sleep for a few days and I felt that. I was jet lagged and I felt that. I was really stressed out at work and I felt that. And it's the most common thing in the world. It's most people will be able to relate to this, even if it's just on a smaller scale. So Troy, how was the DP manual helpful in your recovery?
man, the DP manual was helpful and just really explaining to me, like, it takes your recovery and just makes it simple. It tells you, like, first, what is DP? Like, who experiences DP? How can you experience DP? And one thing that really gave me a lot of peace for me was that the second time that I got DP, I just generally got it from stress. But while in the first time, I was like, what if I smoke bad weed? I'm going to be schizophrenic or whatever. Like, it shows that it could happen to anybody. Like, it could happen if you're just stressing at work, or if it's no such thing as like weed-induced DP is different from stress-induced DP or anything like that. Like, DP is just DP, So, that breaking it down of like, that this is just, this is what it is. And then the steps to take now. And then after the steps to take, like what to experience during recovery, supplements to take, like it was helpful to me because it's like I don't have to go on these forums or anything like that and try to basically try to like figure it out myself. Like, this is a test. It's a tried and proved way with results that, hey, this works. And then there's even the golden rules. Like, that was my favorite thing, 10 golden rules. I would just look at it every single day. All right, 10 golden rules. Let me make sure I do this. So the DP manual was absolutely wonderful. One thing that I would say that I think delayed my recovery a little bit, though, was don't be legalistic with the rules. Like, there's things of like, you should never just search online. You should never lay in bed, all day because, it makes it happen. But sometimes, guys, like, you're going to fall. You're going to look online. You're going to stay in bed a little late. Like, you're going to do some of the things wrong, but that does not set you back 4 months or anything like that. Like, because that was one thing that I would obsess over. Like, I'd be like, I stayed in bed too long. I'm going to add another 5 months to this thing or something like that. So I would say don't be legalistic. Know the rules, but also give yourself grace if you don't. No, you don't all the time.
Yeah, certainly. And it's always good to have, give yourself a bit of leeway with these things, and and giving yourself some space to have, okay, I'm going to have ups and downs. I'm going to have moments where I slip up a bit or whatever, but look, that's perfectly normal. It's perfectly natural. But it's a process of training yourself towards recovery. It's not about behaving perfectly immediately. It's about giving yourself the space for those changes to happen. Something I think is worth mentioning as well, Troy, and I know that a lot of people would be curious about it. Is people would say, well, why did come back? You know, why did you have two bouts of it? Didn't you recover from it the first time? As something that I encounter with people a lot, and I encountered it myself on a shorter scale when I was going through DP. But you know, what can often happen is that like people will experience DPDR, and they will get themselves out of it, often just through a process of like kind of like training your attention away from it and kind of letting it just kind of be there in the background. And for most people who do experience DPDR, that's what it is. It's a short-term thing that they focus away from, and it fades away. But what can happen is that when time passes, we kind of get out of those habits of focusing away from it, which is actually a really good thing. You know, we get so much distance on DPDR that we just kind of forget about it. So then when we have a moment of anxiety and it comes back up, we say, oh my God, what's this? Why has it come back? Did I do something wrong? Am I back to square one? You know, and then the spiral starts, you know. But actually properly recovering from DPDR or any anxiety-based condition is based on having a really fundamental understanding of what the condition is, and kind of and having that knowledge that, okay, like it's not just a case of kind of getting out of it and then fingers crossed it doesn't come back. It's about getting out of it and understanding that it's a normal part of human experience. Because when you think about it like that takes the power away from it and prevents it from spiraling off into becoming an issue again. And that's what recovery is in the truest sense. And I think that's what you've done on this second bout of recovery.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Troy, there's going to be people watching this interview who might be in the same place that you were, maybe in the first bout, maybe in the second bout, who might be struggling with it. And what advice would you have for yourself if you could have a chat with yourself back when this first started? And what advice would you have for those people?
Man, if I had any advice for when it first started, it would be that everything is going to be okay. That like all these irrational fears, everything that you're afraid of, it's not going to happen. That's what I would tell myself when it first started. If I would be talking to myself maybe last year around this time, it would be to understand that like this is okay. Like this is okay. Allow this to mold you, build you, and to make you stronger. And don't allow this to be the thing that like just breaks you. Because there are thousands and numerous of people who've recovered from this thing fully, who never even thought about it and gotten over it. So it's like, you know, just lock in. You know what to do. You know what it is. Don't allow it to take over your life any much longer. And that's really what I realized that it was. It is a decision. Like, it is purely a decision that I feel like both times there was a moment when I just said, you know what, I'm not going to allow this to take over my life. And that was when everything changed. So just tell myself to make that decision.
Yeah, I think that's excellent advice. Troy, it's been so lovely to chat to you, man. I really appreciate you being on the channel. I love your energy is great. I love that you're about to start on this new chapter of your life. And I wish you all manner of future success. And I hope is it Houston you're moving to? Is it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's always exciting to move to a new city, and yeah. I hope Houston treats you well, and I hope this your pursuit of running track only continues to give you more success.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, lovely to meet you, Troy. Thank you so much for joining us today. Take care.
All right, yes, sir. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.